Hey now everyone, I have some big grandiose games in my collection. I've got the Takenoko Collector's Edition up here. Somewhere down there I've got Earth Reborn, Twilight Imperium, StarCraft, and those big old Fantasy Flight coffin boxes. I've got games like Chaos Ball and Crossmaster Arena and Zombicide that don't have enormous boxes, but they're chock full of stuff, really, really heavy, tons of components, lots of fiddliness, etc., etc. And so sometimes it's refreshing to take a step back and look at some of my smaller games. And today we're going to take a look at possibly the smallest one I have. And, well, other than Win, Lose, or Banana from Asmodee Games. Look that one up. But today we're looking at R, which that's the name of the game, the letter R. And this is also known as BraveRats. It's a new edition of the game that Blue Orange Games has put out recently, but this is the original edition of the game that was put out in Japan from Seiji Kanai, the creator of Love Letter. This is a multilingual game, and this is the entire game. There's just a little stack of cards in here. It's for 2 players only. And it's just a competitive back and forth game with no luck. You play a card, your opponent plays a card, compare the cards, see what happens. Looks pretty simple. Well, there's a surprising amount of depth to this little game. Like I said, depth is what I said. And there could be depth. But like I said, this was recently re-implemented as BraveRats. Same game, different cartoony theme, better box. It comes in a tin. Even if you don't like tins, it's better than a little envelope. But they're essentially the same game, so you can count this as a review of both. I just didn't want to buy the new version. Although you'll see me be a hypocrite very soon when I buy the new version of Sushi Go. But anyways, I digress. Let's take a very quick look at the game, and we're going to come back. I'll tell you what I think. Okay, just a very brief overview of R, which has been re-implemented as BraveRats in the newest version of the game from Blue Orange Games. And I say very brief because it's a very brief game. This is the entire game. There are 16 cards. This is a 2-player only game, so each player is going to get a set of these cards numbered from 0 to 7, and they're all the exact same card with the exact same abilities, just the artwork and some of the colors in the background change in order to indicate whose set of cards is whose. You've got the red set and the blue set, although those colors don't always stay true. So each player is going to take a set of these cards, and here I'll just go through each of them very briefly as to what they do. Actually, I'm going to back up a second. I want to show you one thing, because I think this is pretty funny. This is also what comes in the game. This is the rules. It comes in a little envelope. And over here we have this little paragraph here that Seiji Kanai likes to put little funny stuff at the end of his original versions of his games. So I just want to read this. To end with, as you may note by the playtime, this is not a long strategic game in which you think carefully each round. Use it as a way to decide game order, or instead of rock, paper, scissors. Don't play for money, unless your country's laws allow for it. I just thought that was amusing. Anyways, moving on. I'll show you what these different cards are, then we'll get into the gameplay, which is not that complicated. Well, basically what you do on each turn, each player is going to take one of their cards from their hand without revealing it to the other player, put it face down, and then they're going to reveal it. You reveal it simultaneously, do whatever it tells you to do, and basically compare the strength. The strength is the number up in the top corner, and you're trying to win 4 rounds before your opponent does. Normally, that's going to be by comparing strength. Whoever has a higher strength is the winner, but of course, the special abilities of the cards will change that. So, for instance, the Prince simply says, you win the round. Regardless of what your opponent has, you win the round, which makes sense because you're the 7. But there's at least one card that could still screw that plan up. The General. Your card next round gets +2 strength. So you're still a 6 now, but in the next round, your card will get +2, assuming the game's not over at that point. The Wizard nullifies the special power of the opponent's card. You play this card, it counts as a 5. Your opponent's card still has its strength value, but its special ability is meaningless. The Minister. If you win with this card, it counts as 2 victories. Remember that you only need 4 to win the game. The Assassin, the lowest strength wins, which could really throw your opponent for a loop. The Spy, next round your opponent reveals his card before you choose yours. The Princess, every game's got to have a princess, right? If the opponent played the Prince, you win the game. So that's the way you can try and counter your opponent's Prince. But you can also play the Clown, which is the 0. This round is nullified and put on hold. Now, a hold is going to happen either because of the Clown's power or if you both play the same card and you tie each other. If that happens, you're going to... normally what would happen is, so you and your opponent play your card. If one side wins, the losing card will turn it sideways so that you know who lost. You can keep track of who won and who lost over the different rounds until someone gets to 4. If a round is put on hold, Then you'll simply, I believe this is how we do it. You turn your both cards sideways, indicating that that's a draw. But then the next person to clearly and definitely win a round will win that round as well. So the game can escalate very quickly and therefore be a very fast game. And that's really it. I'd like to say that there's more, but essentially it's just both players taking a deck of these cards, putting a card down, flipping it over simultaneously, trying to defeat your opponent with either a higher strength or a killer special ability until you've won 4 times, until you've got 4 wins under your belt. That's R or BraveRats. Seiji Kanai became famous for his micro card games for a reason. That's because he finds new and unique ways to manipulate a small amount of cards. Now, a lot of that has to do with hand management and being very efficient with the use of your cards. A lot of it has to do with special abilities and finding new ways for cards to interact in a unique way. But I think that BraveRats is a very good example of the other thing that Seiji Kanai is really good at, and that's making his games not overstay their welcome, which I just said very awkwardly. But these games are very, very quick. And it's not that they're bad games by any means. They're good games with some depth to them. But if they lasted too long, I feel like people would just get irritated with them. There wouldn't be enough meat there. But because they're so quick, you finish a game and you're like, oh, let's play again. No, I'm going to win. I got to beat you now. That's what I get from R. It's very cool how the cards interact with each other. Like I said before, that's one of the hallmarks of Seiji Kanai's games. And it can be very tense. It's just a 2-player game. There's no luck involved. You have access to every power that you're going to have for the duration of the game. But you're just trying to outwit your opponent. You're trying to think, what are you going to play? And are they just going to play something totally at random? Or, are they reading me? We've played this 4 times in a row now. Can he or she figure out what I'm thinking, what I'm going to play? What am I most likely to play? It's a little bit of like the chess feeling to it in a much simpler and faster game. And that's why I think I enjoy it, because you can sit there and pump out 5 games and, a very short amount of time and not, feel like you've actually had a good time. Like, even if you lose, it could just be because you were trying a new strategy and it just didn't work. Well, so what? Let's play again and see if this time it does work. I'll lead off with a different card. That's what the cool thing is here. I like the different powers. I like that you can cancel out powers with some cards, that you can turn the tables on your opponent with certain special abilities. Like I said, I haven't played the BraveRats version, but I'm pretty sure that all the powers are the same. I like the style of artwork on some of Seiji Kanai's original Japanese games, like the original Japanese version of Love Letter, and so it is here. I like this artwork too, which is why I don't feel inclined to buy the new version. I think it looks okay, but I just don't need it, as long as this is essentially the same game. But I think you're good with either version. Is this the greatest game in the world? No. I would still recommend a lot of others of Seiji Kanai's games, even if you're only playing with 2 players. Even Love Letter with 2 players, I think, is better than this game. But this certainly ain't bad, especially for its price point, and it's a unique experience. Something you can take on the road, something you can shove in your pocket, and, if you need something to do, if you're riding on the subway, riding on the train, whatever it might be, even on an airplane, you don't need a lot of space for this game. This is probably one of the quintessential micro games. There's a lot of other games I think claim to be micro games that really aren't. Not that it really matters. It's not like a huge deal, but I think this one for sure is a great example of how much game can be packed into a very tiny space. That's R or BraveRats. Not the greatest game in the world, but I do recommend it if you just want a unique 2-player experience. My name is Nick. This has been Board Game Brawl, and I'm reminding you to get out there and game every day and in every way. Take care.